You remember that feeling, right? Sitting in a classroom watching a clock that refuses to move, wondering why you're memorizing something you'll never use again. We think of school as just how learning works. Rows of desks, bells, grades. It feels ancient, like it's always been this way. It hasn't. For most of human history, there was no whiteboard, no bell, no classroom at all. Here's the number that should stop you cold. Schools as we know them, mandatory age group, sit-in rows education are maybe 150 years old for most of the world. Humans have existed for roughly 300,000 years. Do the math. And formal schooling covers less than 0.05% of human history. And yet, in that unschooled 99.95%, children still learn to track animals across deserts, navigate oceans by starlight, build cathedrals, cure the sick, write poetry, and rule empires. Nobody gave them a syllabus. So here are the two questions driving everything you're about to see. One, if there were no schools, how on earth did children learn the skills that kept entire civilizations alive? Two, what did we gain when we built schools, and what quietly did we lose? By the end of this video, you won't just know history. You'll understand something about learning itself, why some of the deepest knowledge humans have ever passed down never touched a textbook, and why that might matter more today than ever. A boy in the Arctic reading footprints in snow like sentences. A girl in ancient Sparta wrestling boys twice her size. An apprentice in medieval Florence grinding pigment for a master painter. A child in West Africa memorizing 1,000 years of his people's history word for word. A Roman schoolboy being beaten for a grammar mistake. All of it is coming. Let's go back to the beginning. 50,000 years ago, imagine a boy, we'll call him Tarek, one of countless children like him. He doesn't sit at a desk. He walks behind his uncle for 11 hours a day, watching how the older man reads wind direction, animal droppings, broken twigs. He fails constantly. He misjudges a trail. He goes hungry sometimes because of it. That failure is the lesson. There's no red pen, only consequence. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies, like the Hadza of Tanzania, have found children as young as 4 already handling small tools, unsupervised because the curriculum wasn't age-based. It was ability-based. You learned exactly as fast as your body and mind allowed, not as fast as a calendar demanded. But once humans stopped wandering and started farming, everything about learning had to change. Because now, for the first time, there was something new to protect: property. Around 2500 BCE in Sumer, we meet a boy scribes called Adumue Dubba, son of the tablet house. His name is lost to time, but thousands of his clay homework tablets survive. He complained about being caned by his teacher. He bribed his teacher's assistant with treats to get better grades. Yes, really. One surviving tablet is literally a Sumerian schoolboy's essay about how much he hates school. The very first schools weren't built to make children wise. They were built to make accountants. Someone had to track grain, taxes, and trade, and that required a small, literate elite. School wasn't born from love of learning. It was born from bookkeeping. Because writing was suddenly valuable, literacy became power, and power is never shared for free. For thousands of years after this, school would remain a privilege of the few, not a right of the many. In Sparta, a 7-year-old boy was taken from his mother and enrolled in the agora, a brutal state system that taught obedience, pain tolerance, and combat. Meanwhile, in Athens, a boy of the same age might be walked to lessons by an enslaved tutor called a pedagogos, learning music, geometry, and rhetoric through conversation and debate. Two neighboring cultures, same century, same language even, and they built entirely opposite versions of education. One optimized for soldiers, one optimized for citizens who could argue in public. This is the first proof in history that education was never neutral. It was always a mirror of what a society valued most. Now fast forward past Rome's grammar schools and their infamous canings to a period you were taught to call backward. It wasn't. Meet Alaric, age 12. In 14th century Flanders, a stand-in for thousands like him. His father signs a contract binding him to a master carpenter for 7 years. He'll sleep in the workshop, eat at the master's table, and for the first 2 years, do nothing but sweep, fetch, and watch. No textbook explains joinery. His hands learn it through thousands of repetitions, corrected in real time by someone who has done it for 30 years. This is the origin of something you still use today, the words apprentice, master, and even university degrees, like bachelor and masters, all descend directly from this medieval guild system. Your diploma is a distant descendant of a woodworking contract. Because guilds controlled quality by controlling who could teach, knowledge stayed locked inside closed circles until something arrived that would blow the doors open. In 1450s Germany, Gutenberg's press begins multiplying books faster than any scribe ever could. Suddenly, knowledge doesn't need a master standing beside you in travel in your saddlebag. But across the ocean in the Mali Empire, another kind of living library had already existed for centuries, the griot. A child born into a griot family, like a boy we'll call Sundiata's apprentice, spent up to 20 years memorizing his people's entire oral history, genealogies, wars, laws, word perfect, generation after generation. Some griot lineages could recite unbroken oral history stretching back over 800 years, with an accuracy that has stunned modern historians, cross-checking it against written records elsewhere. A human being was the hard drive. No book required because the book was a person. So if oral memory could be this powerful, why did the printed, seated, graded classroom eventually win almost everywhere? The answer arrives in 19th century Prussia. After military defeats, the Prussian state builds the first mass, compulsory, age-graded school system in history, not primarily to spark curiosity, but to produce obedient soldiers and disciplined factory workers for a rapidly industrializing nation. The bell that ends your class period? It's modeled on the factory whistle. The rows of desks facing forward, modeled on factory floors. Modern school wasn't designed like a library of wonder. It was designed like a machine, because it was built during the birth of machines. And because Prussia's model produced a famously efficient, literate workforce, nations around the world copied it. Britain, the United States, Japan, not because it was the best way for a human brain to learn, but because it was the most scalable. So here's the truth hiding under all of it. For 99.95% of human history, learning didn't look like sitting still. It looked like walking behind someone you trusted, failing in front of people who cared whether you improved, and being handed knowledge person to person, not page to page. You still learn that way more than you realize. The recipe your grandmother taught you by feel, not by measuring cup. The way you picked up your job's real rules from a coworker, not a manual. The advice a mentor gave you that no course ever covered. Every time that happens, you're not doing something modern. You're doing something 300,000 years old. School taught you facts, but the world, the way it always has, is still teaching you how to live.